high-stakes live-action poker. Live at the bike. Watch it live on the web or play it if you dare at the Bicycle Casino.
Hello and welcome to Live at the Bike. David Tuckman alongside Nicole Juergens for what should be an epic night. And I don't mean epic poker, I mean actually epic. We've got a 25-50 game for you, over $80,000 on the table. We are currently 8-handed, so if you want to play in this game, there is a seat open. And some big names and big faces and a lot of chips at the table. Let's introduce them right now.
Sure, let's do that. Looks like Zach's in a big hand currently. I don't think we have the stats, so we'll just see what happens. But that is Zach. We've seen him quite a bit here on Live with the Bike. He is a local grinder, and by local, pretty much the bike. It's pretty much where he plays. This is his home. He has 14,000 in front of him. Next to him in seat 2 is Neil. He's
25-50, so I know that. Right now we can see the button clearly in front of Brian. Small blind is James. Zach is in the big blind. There is no straddle on here. But as we mentioned, there is a Mississippi straddle that is allowed, which means you can straddle in any position. Mm-hmm. Player closest to the big blind is actually has preference, though. We get a limp and then a raise.
Jay limps in late position with ace-3. Brian raises him on the button with ace-queen. Over to Zach, who's thinking.
Yeah, Zach doesn't like to fold. He likes to play a lot of hands. He's going to call out of the big blind. Don't know what he has. So we'll see this one heads up. Jay gets out of the way. This is a great game, by the way. King, queen, deuce. Not a terrible flop for ace-queen as he flops middle pair.
So what we know about Zach so far, he is a professional grinder. He's quite solid. He's calling this, sizable raise out of position against a good player. So what kind of range can we put Zach on here?
I don't know.
I'm going to give him like 10-jack suited and up. Something like that. I'm going to say he's not going with the, small suited
King
connectors
deuce
at this point.
Suited?
I don't think so. I mean, I would say 10-jack of clubs.
8-5 offsuit.
Queen, king, no. I'm not going to give him that.
So that card's probably going to help. I mean, this board, the fact that, Zach check called, though, Jack 10 obviously is in his range. Jack 10 gets there. Bingo.
Exactly.
He's got a straight. He's got the nuts. Zach has got the nuts.
King, queen could be, in his
No, he's got the nuts.
I think
and he goes check, check.
This board really hits Zach, and I think that's why Brian is checking behind. Quite
What do you mean it really hits Zach? How does it really hit Zach? Brian's got two pair. I mean, you're losing the one hand. You're losing the Jack 10.
Yeah, but it does too. It serves two purposes, right? That check, you either could be way ahead or way behind if you put him on that range.
Okay.
At this point, does go check, check on the turn. Zach now bets on the river.
Yeah, he bets 1,300 into 1,100, so he's over betting the pot. He is betting more than was in the pot. Generally, that would mean that he's either probably got a huge hand or nothing, right? But the fact that he called pre-flop, he called pre-flop and called on the flop, Jack 10 is definitely a hand that you got to be considering here.
Well, it could be king queen. It could be, I think, and Brian knows this. He's thinking, he doesn't think his ace queen is just the nuts here. Obviously, I don't think he's thinking of raising. I think he's
never
just
raising.
Calling here, and he actually folds.
That's terrible.
And I don't think it's terrible. I think that he just decided that.
How do you check back the turn and then just fold? Like you just said, your opponent could have ace deuce suited. Your opponent could have had king queen. I think that's just awful.
There
you said queen nine. That's awful. That's just horrendous. I'm sorry. I like Brian. He's a good guy, but he's asked me before what he's done. I do not understand how you possibly check back two pair
and then not call. You think you should have called on the river?
Well, because you're saying the range smacks Zach. It doesn't. The only hand that's really in Zach's when you have an ace, a king, and a queen on the board, it smacks the pre-flop raiser's range. Mm-hmm. The only hand that is specifically Jack 10. And by the way, if my opponent has Jack 10, I've only got 4. It's because they're stuck.
Yeah. Buttons with Danconia, 25-50 blinds. Zach will be under the gun. Let's see, too.
Zach's another married poker player, by the way.
He's got a secret. He's got 2 kids about the ages of my kids.
I actually just saw Nolan Dalla, who I'm friends with on Facebook, just posted something about he's like, oh, if somebody calls me before noon, then I don't give them any respect because they don't know anything about poker players. And I love Nolan, by the way. I really do. But I tried to point out to him, I said, there's a new breed of poker player out there and there's a lot of us out there now that, Wow, what a
Ooh.
flop for Zach. He's open-ended with the nut flush draw on a 7-6-5 two-club board. This is the kind of hand that Zach will go to war with.
And he raised this under the gun.
And rightly so. Zach's going to check, and let's see how he plays this. He plays a check raise or a check call. Very interesting way to see how this one plays out. Zach checks. Mosin bets 300 over to Zach. We are inadvertently kind of showing you one hand on each one.
It's all right. Keep everyone guessing. Try
Yeah.
to figure it out for yourself.
What's the play if you're Zach?
I think that a check raise here at this level, while I advocate it in smaller games, at this level it looks kind of like a draw. I think it makes it easy for Mosin to come along if he has anything at this point, because I can easily put my opponent on like 8 or clubs. And maybe Mosin doesn't have anything, or maybe he just doesn't agree with me, but Zach does check raise and Mosin quickly folds.
I mean, I don't think Mosin was, folding a pair or folding two pair.
I don't think so either. I wouldn't.
What's the play then? I mean, if you have, let's say you had a hand like 9-7 or something like that. I mean, the thing is, if you have a pair, you probably have a straight draw to go along with it.
Yeah, you probably have, or pocket nines, or, and if I get check raise there from somebody like Zach, and I know who's capable and who raised pre-flop and then made that play, I would specifically put him on some kind of draw, and I would definitely call. And then you continue to reevaluate on further streets.